Hello everyone and welcome back to Temu Salem 2. In this video I showcase you how not to play as a mayor. Obviously I'm not that mayor. Hope you enjoy! Also, I was playing with Dragon and Harm and I've linked his point of view of this game in the description. Okay, so I'm spy number 12 and my name is Cat Lady. Cat Girl decides to leave. What is this chat? Okay, so let's go on 14, the prosecutor. Maybe if they get attacked I will know the role of the attacker. Okay, so 14 probably survived because otherwise my bug would have been triggered. Rest in peace to 6. They disconnected from life. Oh no, rest in peace to 8 this year. That's very unfortunate for Tom. I agree that abortions are a woman's choice. I says, if only I weren't Tarnation Roblox, I was going on 8. I say, spy here, the bug isn't triggered yet. 11 says, look out, 1 visited by no one. 2 says 3 was visited by 4. 15 says investigator, 9 murder trespassing. And we have a mayor reveal from High Hopes. Well, let's hope they're a good mayor. 2 says 4 roll, why were you on 3? 4 says TP, guess why I was on 3? 15 says that 9 has murder and trespassing. I say 9 claim. 15 says you can see this, right? 3 says 15 and 9 are in 1 for 1. 5 says oh hey 9 did it. 15 says yeah it's 9. Or 1 says 9 roll. 9 says I'm monarch. 1 says I will cross 15 then. I say it took you ages. And there is a prosecutor jump scare and I get 15. Even though I would rather get 9 here. Process says 1 for 1. If Eno we get 9. That's so risky. Why would you cross 15 when you could prosecute 9? I don't get it. Okay, let's write down the claims. 11 is lookout. 2 is lookout. And this was a jester. Great. 3 says 4 roll, why were you on me? 4 claimed TP like 3 times. 4 says I told you TP. 13 says 4 roll now. What? 4 says trick, what the tarnation? What the hell do you want? Trickster, night 1, 3, nothing. What detonation do you all want from me? Fourteen says you know this. 2 says all guilty, he isn't TP, trick is not TP. 9 says this was late claim, guilty. 13 says 1 for 1. 4 says trick is basically TP. What detonation do you all want? How is this 1 for 1? I say it's a TK. 3 says you said you're a TP. I say not a TP. 3 says but you claim trick. 4 says trick is basically TP. This is all I need. 3 says yeah you're fake. And this was a pirate. Why wouldn't you claim pirate? What's wrong with you? I say L pirate. 5 says, are you all dumb? If you claim TK and you're seeing visiting, they know your role. 3 says, oh, nice. 10 says, yeah, 5. 5 says, so claim TP. Okay, let's check whether someone evil goes on 3. Sometimes arsonists, bakers go on town power roles and, you know, claim to be a town protective on them. Especially since we have 3 lookout claims, you know. We could catch a wildling. 9 claims monarch, but I don't trust that. 10 didn't claim, 13 didn't claim. Okay, so 14 is Oracle probably, because they asked who want Aegis. Rest in peace to the prosecutor. They were haunted by a jester, unlucky. But it is what it is. I will prosecute 9 there instead of 15. Rest in peace to our lookout, they were killed by the Coven. So we have a tavern or poisoner. Raven says, okay, I think it's a boys game. I was roadblocked. 10 says roadblocked but high tolerance. 2 says, okay. 2 says, 3 was visited by 5 and 12. 11 says, so 1 tav, 1 boys. 2 says, 5 roll. I say, we need claims IMO. 2 says, 12 roll. I say, I'm spy. 3 says, wait, 5 claim then. 13 says, okay, 12 is spy. What is 5? 10 says, 5 is dead. I say, 5 is dead. 13 says, why was 5 on mayor? And it says, 5 roll now. 5 is dead. 10 says, are you people stupid? 3 says, oh, 5 is dead, never mind. 14 says, ha ha ha. 3 says, 12 roll. I claimed spy. Seriously, what is this reading comprehension level? 14 claims TP. What is this mayor doing? Okay, so 14 claims to self, Knight 1, and then Aegis Mayor. Now says Pirate did claim to have an oracle. This is why on Mayor and not on Pros who was gonna get haunted. You can't save prosecutor from the jester haunt. What are you saying? This is fake. He did on Mayor, not Pros. I say Oracle can't save from jester. Princess, you let Pros die to jester. 14 says you are all idiots. I yell, you can't save from jester haunt. 3 says 1 prosecuted jester, so jester could haunt him. Why not save him? 10 says this town is evil as fuck, with a moron mayor, like 0 chance. 2 says, bro, why didn't 14 save Pros? I say, why are you this stupid town? You can't save. They are trolling, they're actually trolling. What is this game? This game is so cursed. On so many levels. Let's back to. Right, this town's average IQ is room temperature in Celsius. Especially 2 and 3. They don't have enough knowledge of the game's mechanics, I think. Or they are just trolling. Night 3. 3 was visited by 5. 11 says I was roadblocked the previous night. Just as Necro game, by the way. Why is it Necro when it could be a Retributionist game? Just as May was visited by Dead Lookout. 10 says, it's not Necro, you stupid moron. 3 says, 12, post will. I say, could be a rat. I whisper my will to the mayor. 13 says, I forgot to claim. 3 says, 12, post spy will now. 9 says, 12 isn't posting. I posted to you. In whispers. Oh my gosh. 3 says, I can't read. Yeah, I noticed that. 3 says, 10 roll also. This town is so stupid, it can't be safe. I think it's evil majority with some stupid townies left. Otherwise it's just... Oh, this is so frustrating. 10 says, I also whispered you my will. 3. 10 claims retributionist. 2 says, this is fake, he's definitely Necro. Why would Necro use lookout though? 3 says, get claims. I yelled, 7 and 13, claim! 3 says, I asked for roll on wheel. I said 7, 13, claim! Three says, I've claimed tab already. 7, roll. Seven claims Jailore. What? I say, who did you RB 13? There was no kills. You probably stopped a murder. 3 says, can anyone confirm being jailed? 9 says, I can. I was jailed. This seems fishy AF. 3 says, okay, 13 says, this is Jailore. I say, 9, why did you knight Mayor? 13 says, also Roblox 11. I say, get 11 then. 13 says, last night. 11 says, yes, I was high tolerance. 10 says, you people believing in monarch that isn't knighting. 3 says, 11, roll. Temu says, there is a second roll blocker. Which one is it? I rollblocked him last night. I say, 11, lookout isn't rollblock immune. You can't have a high tolerance. 11 yells, I was rollblocked night too. She says, 2 for 1, all guilty. Why didn't you say that earlier? 11 says, okay, so I say, I hate it here. 11 says, 2 is doom. And this was a wildling. Let's go! 9 says, bro, there's lookout CC. No room for this. I say, nice. Finally something good. And they left info for a doom to guess. So we probably have a doom. Okay, let's back 13 maybe. Okay, let's back 13. What is 7? I don't like how they didn't claim. None of my bugs are triggered. Are you kidding me? That's why Coroner is better than Spy. No kills again? That's strange. I say, wait. 2 says, okay, so can we get the red reclaim? He's clearly Necro. Why use lookout? It's more likely they're retributionist than a Necro. Why would... I misread the wills and say they are contradict. 13 says, by the way, I Roblox 7, no coven kills. I say, get 7 though. 13 says, so it must be 10. It's not. 10 says, lookout is the only role I can use in this graveyard. Are you stupid? Let's get 7. What are you doing, town? Ugh. Okay, this is hopeless because this May is a Tanation moron. 10 says, how stupid are you people? Lookout is the only corpse I can use in the graveyard. 9 says, all guilty, the lookout confirms you as Necro, look at his will, bro. 3 says, if you are real retro, you have used pros, and you didn't. I say, you can't use prosecutor, ah! And I enoed that. And I was the only Eno? What? I yell, get 7 next, please! 10 says, we don't even contradict. WTF? That was my mistake, I'm sorry, but at least I Enoed you. But it doesn't count in this town. 2 says, he didn't use Pros or CA, which would be more useful for town. There is literally lookout CC. I say, you can't use them as red. This town, shaking my head. Told you to get 7. And this was real red. I yell, ah! 13 says, oh my god, 10, why didn't you use pros? Because you can't use pros. You can't use pros. You can't use Seer. You can't use Oracle. This is so frustrating. I literally got a migraine. I was roblocked. What? Thirteen says, yo, I say Roblox, can we get 7 please? 13 says, okay, 12 is fake, I Roblox 12. I say, how am I fake? 13 says, no carbon kills. And you Roblox 7 and there were no carbon kills. 13 says, so it has to be him. I say, nope. 9 says, 12 hasn't posted a spy wheel all game. I say, I posted. Just because you can't read doesn't mean I didn't post. 2 says 7 is confirmed jailer. 9 says he was jailed. You can't fake this info. How is this 1 for 1 3? It's not. 3 says his 12 is good. Then it must be 13. It must be 7, you idiot! And 3 has 6 votes. This is a nightmare. I say, you know what? I'm done with this town. Come on, hang another townie. Today says, I Roblox this. No carbon kills. He's fake spy. This is all guilty. He posted late. I say 9 hasn't knighted anyone. 9 says 1 for 1. His will is fake. My will isn't fake. 9 says his will makes no sense. I say this town is so dumb. Three says wait, 9 is monarch. 15 says 10, you should have used pros. You can't use pros. 8 says it's a bot lobby. 14 says 3 says he was monarch. 8 says this guy will hang 13 next. 2 says so 13 is poise. No! What are you saying? 15 says 12. Bro, we feel bad for you. Oh, thank you, Justy. At least someone feels bad for me. 14 says this is very entertaining. 8 says I'm only staying so 3 and 2 can get absolutely flamed. 14 says it's like watching a little league game. I say Lemao 8. 15 says I wonder if pros would help. 8 says they probably would have hung me even if I got tracked. I say evils don't even need to kill. Town will do it themselves. 14 says why didn't you raise pros though, for real? You can't raise prosecutor. You can raise deputy though. 15 says town has mislynched every single person. 14 says pros should have killed 3 lol. I say yep. 15 says it's diabolical. 3 says I was Robloxed, okay, poise game. 15 says Robloxed mayor. 2 claims lookout and say that 3 was visited by 13. Yes, 15 is poise. 15 says oh, now it's a poise game. Get the fuck off. 8 says what I'm going to do is this. 15 says, okay, I'm confirmed Tevin now. I'll Roblox you, Mayor, so I can only be tough. Not true. 15 says, I'm so glad I'm not town. I would have uninstalled. 8 says, I'm going to look at these people's usernames at the end of the game and warn people. It's not fun to play with people actually trolling like this. I say, I really hope they're just new. 14 says, can't keep getting away with this. True. 8 says, no, they aren't new. 15 says, if I ever play with Maya again, I don't care, I will kill them. 8 says, they will know this. 12 says, because they thought Red could use Pro Sincere. 3 says, ... 15 says, fake silence, it's not even blue. True. 8 says, he's gonna know this. 15 says, so fake. 3 says, oh, guilty, this is fake silence. 2 says, oh, he was silenced. 15 says, Maya finally grew a brain. I say, wow, they do have some brain cells. Yay! 13 says, he didn't knight. 8 says, you know the sad part? This isn't even reportable for game throwing because the game's stupid devs say that it's not game throwing until you admit it. 14 says, true Enos, he has to be new. 8 says, wow, they're actually guilty and evil. 3 says, I told you he wasn't silenced. 2 says, oh, never mind. 8 says, it won't. I feel like it doesn't. 15 says, he's doomed. 8 says, 9 couldn't win, Lufmao. 2 says, okay, so get 13. 13 is poised. Get 7, are you stupid? 11 says, Doom, when I died, did you not read my will? 9 says, what will? Okay, this town can't read at all. 8 says, he's either new or trolling. 8 says, yeah, he's trolling, what will? 14 says, the only game throwing for real is if you spawn in and out of all your cavern or something IMO. 15 says, 13 tough, 10 red, 3 mayor. I say, 11 literally wrote down the roles you could guess. And he says, I can't. I'm done. 8 says, Cap, you aren't new. 15 says, did you guess me as Jester 12? 8 says, you, 2 and 3 are not new. You're just trolls trying to ruin games, that's all it is. And it says, how no one CC'd him? 3 wasn't visited. Okay, get 7 or 13 here. 8 says, 9, assuming you're not trolling, which I hardly doubt. 11 says, I can't anymore. 2 says, both unconfirmed. 13 says, why me? I Roblox 7, no coven kills. 8 says, actually, do I even want to explain? 13 says, no coven kills. 3 says, okay, so wait. But isn't 7 confirmed Jailer? No, they are not. There are no Jailer kills, so they are not confirmed. 8 says it could be a 1-for-1 between the mayor and 7, and the mayor won't vote him. Oh my gosh. Says 8. Oh my gosh, says 14. 14 says, how is 9 confirmed? What? 13 says, it's not me. I'm not Poise. I say, I'm about to have a migraine from this. 8 says, all he has to do is kill the mayor tonight, and he wins. I say, yep. 13 says, I know I Robloxed mayor. 2 says, oh, guilty. 11 says, their brains are fried. 8 says, 3 is about to get roasted like a turkey on Thanksgiving. 2 says, he Robloxed mayor and Roblox spy, 2 for 1. 8 says, I cannot wait for 3 to be burnt to ashes in this chat. 14 says, lol. 11 says, this is beyond cooked. True. You know it's bad when even the coven says this is cooked. 13 says, get 2. 13 says, 2 is fake. 8 says, 13, he is not fake, he's just stupid. I say, rip 13. 8 says, and has 0 OQ. 2 says, oh, flummery. Okay, wait, 7 is fake then. I see, unfortunately, IMO Mayor has 0 OQ. 8 says, he mislynched for town. I say, yeah. 14 says, insane. I say, town traitor goes hard. 15 says, confirmed Jailer? Bro. 11 says, town traitor mayor. 15 says, no one has hit you all day. 11 says, oh, fried mayor. 14 says, literally. 8 says, I'm telling you, even if I got tracked by a dead tracker to 2 people, he'd still hang me. I say, yep. 13 says, bro. 2 is so fake. No, 7 is fake. 8 says, he's not fake, holy flummery. 13 says, 2 is PB. 14 says, great, game 3, you played really well. 8 says, he would have transformed, he's just stupid. 11 says, you know what, Kevin deserves to win this lobby. I say, 3, please read the chat, you killed so many townies. 8 says, 3, you deserve to be absolutely roasted to a crisp here. 13 says, no, 2 has lookout results. 13 says, 2 is PB. 8 says, now 3 is trolling, he ain't even speaking. And now 2 realizes that 7 can't be Jailore. I just saw him visit, Jailore can't visit. Took you long enough, I told you to get 7. 8 says, he knows he's throwing, but it's not reportable because those idiot devs say it's not throwing. 2 says, get 7. To who? 11 says, 3, can you tell me what he was smoking? 3 says, but 9 says he was jailed. 11 says, I want some. 3 says, 9 literally said he was jailed. I say, I also want some. 9 was Doom. 8 says, report 3. 3 says, I thought 7 was confirmed. 8 says, they should be reported. Three and 2 were so stupid. 15 says, 2 townies. 14 says, 3, I'm actually impressed that you hung 4 townies. 2 says, wait, flummery, 2 was 7. I say, rip 2. 8 says, 2, you're also dumb. 15 says, of course 7 was Coven, the most obvious Coven. I say, I told you to get 7. 8 says, shut it 3, 2 and 3. I say, you're such a town traitor. 8 says, 13 was not dumb. 2 says, GG's. I say, not GG. 8 says, he was roadblocking all the Coven and Evil's Law. Here are all the roles that we've had in this game. Thank you so much for watching this game. I hope you didn't get too frustrated while watching this. And here are the videos that you might like that are not a train wreck. And see you soon in the next video.